Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Opeyemi. If you're new here, and you're very much welcome. So in my last video, someone asked me to discuss how to become a nurse educator in the UK, and a few days later, I believe another person asked me to make a video discussing how to become a nurse assessor in the UK. So are you curious about becoming a nurse educator or a nurse assessor in the UK? Then you're in the right place, and yeah, let's break it down step by step. So let's start by defining who a nurse educator is or what they do. So what do nurse educators do? I believe strongly that they play a very critical role in shaping the future of nursing and of course nurses in the UK. And this could be in universities, NHS trusts, private hospitals, in the clinical setting, in schools. They play a very important role in inspiring and of course impacting the next generation of nurses. So as a nurse educator, you'll be teaching nurses, mentoring them, supervising, assessing them, and you would also be supporting their learning in clinical practice. You'll be contributing to curriculum development and sometimes curriculum design. And according to the Nursing and Midwifery Council, nurse educators must be current in their knowledge, maintain professional registration, and meet teaching requirements depending on their setting. So I'm sure you're asking, how do I become one? How can I become a nurse educator? Number one, you have to be registered with the Nursing and Midwifery Council. So I feel like the first requirement to becoming a nurse educator is to be a nurse. So you have to be a registered nurse and you have to be on the NMC register as a nurse. That's the first step. Number two is you have to gain experience. A lot of the job vacancies I have seen advertised for nurse educators, whether it's in the NHS or even in universities, I have realized that a lot of them want a few years of post-registration experience. So some of you may be asking, I've only been in the UK for a few years. I'm just creating an hypothetical scenario. You may be asking, I've only been in the UK say for a year or two and I'm really keen on becoming a nurse educator. And if years of experience matter, how would this work? And I know this because a lot of immigrant nurses, because I am myself, we had lots of experience from back home. For instance, I already had 10 years of nursing experience before I moved to the UK. So you may be wondering if your years of experience back home would matter if you're applying for this kind of job in the UK with very little or very few years of experience in the UK, if you get my point. So I think it is nothing is set in stone really. I believe that some of them may be very flexible. Some employers may be very flexible or understanding, and they might consider your years of experience back home. So even if you have very little experience in the UK, they might consider your years of experience back home. I could use myself as an example. Obviously this is not related to the nurse educator role, but when I moved to the UK, I was started on top of band 5 because I had so much experience from back home. And I do understand that not all NHS trusts consider your years of experience from back home, but I'm so grateful that the trust I worked with at that time, they did consider my years of experience back home, and I was started on top of band 5. I did not have to start from the bottom of band 5 because of my years of experience from back home. So even if you have very little experience in the UK, I would say so long you're on the NMC register but you've got several years of experience back home, you could still apply. And if you have a very strong application, I want to believe you may be considered. But I know that for most of the vacancies that I have seen advertised, they do emphasize on a few years of post-registration experience. What I'm just trying to say is a few years of experience is very, very key, because it will equip you with the things needed, with the skills needed to also function well as a nurse educator. The next requirement is a teaching qualification. I do know this because as soon as I completed my master's, I was also searching. No, not as soon as I completed. Whilst I was actually doing my master's, I was actively searching for a nurse lecturer role I mean, even before I got into clinical research, like I was actively searching, and most of them were actually asking for a teaching qualification. So like a postgraduate certification in education, PGCERT or PGCE. So a lot of them were actually like asking for that. I remember one of them even specifically in one of those vacancies I saw online. One of them, if I remember clearly, actually even asked for was it a fellowship in higher education? I remember, because at that time I was like, what does this mean? I had to go online to read about the fellowship in higher education. So there is actually an academy called Higher Education Academy in the UK. If you're on LinkedIn, just type Higher Education Academy, and you can also follow them on LinkedIn. I follow them. And so it was when I stumbled on these job adverts that I realized that there was actually something called Higher Education Academy in the UK. So you may want to follow them. They have a fellowship program, and you may also consider enrolling for the fellowship program. So like I said, most of these jobs would actually ask for a PGCERT, a PGCE, or a fellowship in higher education. So just consider any of those three. I know that for a PGCERT, I think it's a 6 month or 9 months diploma program. I would verify and I'll put the correct one on the screen, but yeah, I think it's between 6 and 9 months in duration. I mean, the program, it takes about 6 to 9 months, but yeah, I'll put that on the screen, the correct duration for this program. So yeah, a teaching qualification is almost always required. I also noticed recently that a lot of these jobs would always now ask for a master's. Like before now, they would actually say a bachelor's degree and a PGCERT, you get like a teaching qualification pretty much. But now I am beginning to like notice that a lot of them are now asking for, like, in addition to a bachelor's, a PGCERT, they are also now asking for a master's degree. So yeah, I think it just varies, but it's something you should also like consider doing a research on. I know some of them are not very keen. They would just say a master's is desirable, but some are actually very keen. They would actually state it clearly that a master's is like essential, not just desirable. It's like essential, like very critical. And yeah, I've also realized that in some of the vacancies I have seen, in the like the description of the job, they would say something like, even if you don't have a teaching qualification, I'm paraphrasing now, they would say something like, even if you don't have a teaching qualification, you must be willing to enroll in one if you get the job. So more like they are willing to sponsor you to go for like a teaching qualification if you eventually get the job. So yeah, these are just the little things to like consider when you're like looking forward to like applying for a teaching qualification. Sometimes you could apply for those jobs first and see if they're able to sponsor you, and again, you can't decide to self-sponsor yourself. It just depends on what you want, really. So the last thing I'll talk about as regards the requirement for this job is for you to start getting involved now. So don't wait until you have all of these qualifications I have mentioned in your trust. If you work in the NHS or even in a private hospital, but obviously I work in the NHS, so most of my experience actually has always been in the NHS. So I would say that get involved now, start assessing students now, start getting involved with mentoring students now. Don't wait until you get the nurse educator job. So in your trust, speak with your line manager that you would like to assess a student. You like to be a mentor, actually, that's a word. You like to be a mentor. So whenever you have like students in your department, on your wards, or wherever you work, when you have students, do speak up. Speak with your line manager saying, oh, you like to be a mentor to one of those students. I started mentoring students from, I think, my first year in the UK, actually. Yeah, from my first year in the UK, I had been assigned a student to mentor. So do you get like, you already have what it takes, you're a nurse. So just speak up and ask your manager that you like to have a student as your mentor. Another thing I know that most NHS trusts, if not all, most of them offer is the nurse assessor or the nurse supervisor program. So even if they do not have an affiliation with a university, they can always sponsor you to go for the course. The course is a 1-day course, I believe, or maybe a 2-day course, and it is mostly online, like virtual. You don't have to be in a classroom. I believe when I did mine, it was maybe 4 years ago, but it was online. So I wouldn't know if that was because of COVID, because obviously it was the COVID era, but mine was online, and I did it over a day or maybe 2 days at most. I'll just say give it a week. You should be able to cover all of the things that needs to be covered in that course in a week at most. So also approach your line manager saying you want to do the nurse assessor or so nurse assessor and nurse supervisor training. It is a very short training, and it is virtual. Like I said, when I did mine, it was virtual. I wouldn't know if it's face-to-face learning now, but at that time it was virtual, because that would also help you to be able to take on students, mentor them, assess them, and obviously supervise them as well. So as early as you get involved, the better it is for you, because now you kind of have an idea of what it takes to be an educator, to be a nurse educator. Really, you have an idea, because now you're mentoring students, you're assessing them in the clinical area, you're giving them scores, you can rate their performance, and then you can support them in their learning journey as well whilst they are in clinical practice. One thing to also note is that the Royal College of Nursing have a very robust guidance on the academic pathway for nurses. So I would definitely leave the link in my description. Go have a read. It is very, very robust. You would find it very useful. So a quick break. If you're actually considering transitioning from the bedside to a non-bedside role, you want the non-traditional nursing job, then I have created an ebook for you. So I have discussed extensively 21 non-bedside high demand nursing jobs for you. You have asked and I have answered, and in this ebook you will find amazing resources that would help you transition smoothly and quickly into your desired non-bedside role. Like I said, I have included 21 non-bedside jobs. I've included average salaries, salary insights, explanation of those roles as well, so you know what you're actually going into, the skills required for these roles, the qualifications required for these roles, how to apply for these jobs, when to apply for these jobs, where to find these jobs, and of course when you actually find these jobs, how to make a very strong application for these jobs. So I have poured in a lot into this ebook. I've also included resources for CVs, cover letters, application guidance. The ebook is very, very loaded. There is no fluff in this ebook. It is packed with value. So if you want to lay your hands on my ebook, I will leave it in the description box. Go ahead. I'll also pin it in the comments, so go ahead and get one for yourself today. So this brings me to the next phase of today's discussion. As a nurse educator, you're asking, where would I work? If I become one, where would I work? Number one, you can actually work in universities. You can work in the university as a lecturer, as a nurse lecturer. You can also work as a clinical skills tutor in a university. So most universities, the faculty of nursing or health sciences, whatever their name is, they do tend to have clinical skills tutor, and you can actually work as one, and you can actually work as a lecturer. Number two, you can actually work in any NHS trust as a nurse educator. So in the NHS, they have different titles. Sometimes they are called practice education facilitator, sometimes they are called education facilitators, sometimes they are also called the clinical educator. So just look out for different titles. But even in the NHS, we do have nurse educators. And number three setting where you could work is the private health education organizations. You can work in certain academies as well. Like I've said, I talked about the higher education academy. You could work there. We also have the NHS academy. So there are several places you could work, even outside of the NHS, and of course outside of universities. You could also work with charities. So for now, these are the places I know where you can actually work as a nurse educator. So lastly, I would quickly talk about becoming a nurse assessor or a nurse supervisor in the UK. So this is actually very easy, maybe a lot easier than the nurse educator role actually, and that's because even the NMC encourages nurses to become nurse assessor and of course nurse supervisors. Nurse assessor strictly, like in my knowledge, in my understanding, strictly actually supports student nurses in the practice setting. So as a nurse assessor, you are not working in universities, you're not like working in a school, you're pretty much an NHS staff, like a nurse like you and I, you're just doing your job, but you now have an additional training to assess and supervise student nurses, and the training is pretty much just called a nurse assessor or nurse supervisor course, which you would undergo, and after completing that you get a certificate that truly shows that you are now a nurse assessor or a nurse supervisor. The role is also guided by the Nursing and Midwifery Council. Like I said, the NMC is very big on nurses actually taking on students, mentoring students and all of that. So I will just read out the NMC standards for student supervision and assessment. You must be a registered nurse with current clinical experience. You would need to complete training in line with NMC student supervision and assessments, because there is a guideline actually. So I remember during that training we were given the guideline as stated by the NMC for student supervision and assessment. So yeah, you must complete the training that is in line with that guideline. And like I said, most NHS trusts actually offer this in-house, and if they do not even offer this in-house, they are usually affiliated with a university, and yeah, so there is always a link. And your role includes assessing competence, you also give feedback, and you support students' development. I've said all of this earlier. I would say that if you're already mentoring students in your current role, then I would say becoming a nurse assessor should just be a natural progression for you, because you're already doing the job. Actually, you're already mentoring students. You just need to undergo the training, so you actually have the guideline as stated by the NMC, so you actually know what you're doing. You have the guideline and you can actually follow the guidelines strictly, and I think that's all you need actually to become a nurse assessor. Like I said, approach your line manager. If you don't know how to go about this, just speak to your line manager. They sure do know how you can navigate this. So I've actually included the NMC and the RCN Resources in my description, just so you could explore more in your own spare time. And also I'll leave the link to my ebook in the description below. Please endeavor to lay your hands on one. Get one for yourself or your friends who are nurses. They will definitely find this very helpful. If you're considering transitioning to the non-bedside role, then this is something you should consider getting for yourself. And if you've enjoyed watching this video, do like, share, and of course subscribe. If you have video ideas, if you have questions, leave them in the comment section. I tend to read most comments, all of them actually. I tend to read all of my comments, and I do tend to reply as well. So yeah, I love to read from you guys. Leave comments, share your thoughts as well, and yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.